Welcome to Wedding Day Podcast with your hosts, Sonja Babich, CEO of Iron Diamond Media, a leading wedding resource featuring 7 localized wedding brands across the country.
Hi everybody, it's Sonja Babich here with Wedding Day Podcast. I have Brooke Beise today as my co-host with Nebraska Wedding Day and Minnesota Bride. And also we have Karmin here from Attitude on Food. What a clever business name. I love it. It's catchy. But she is the guru on catering here in Nebraska, and she is sitting with us today on this lovely blue couch at the Farnham. So welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I'm excited to be here.
So before we dive deep more into catering, you have been with the company for 3 years, but 9 years event industry.
Yep.
How did you get involved with this and led to get into the catering world?
You know, it's funny because I went to school for hospitality and I avoided every catering class I could take because I was like, I don't want to get into catering. I don't want to do this.
I love that you said that because there is hospitality majors.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
And so I started at one of our previous venues as the venue manager there, and then we decided to close that venue down a couple years ago. And so I was like, I'll stick with the team and switch over to the catering side, and I've been there ever since, and I love it.
Yay!
That's awesome.
So when it comes to catering, it's one of the biggest, I would say, chunk on usually the budget is the food, right? Here in Omaha, what is like the average that you see that people should budget for a person? Because you know, some people think it's $20 a head, and it's not $20 a head anymore.
No.
It's a lot more than that.
That's something I would say that people really struggle with in their planning is they reach out and they don't want to spend more than $10, $15. But it's like you can't even go out to a restaurant and spend that anymore.
You can't buy a bag of chips for $9 anymore.
Exactly. So it's really like thinking about when you're planning of what's important to me, but what's also important on that guest experience. So it's like people are going to remember if you have terrible food or if you have great food. They're going to remember if the dance floor was packed or if it was awkward and everyone's just staring at each other at their tables. They may not remember what color your napkins were. So like maybe focus that budget towards your food rather than some of those smaller details or what shape your sign was or something.
Yeah, and you know, with us, we're like, we love to spend the money everywhere, right?
Yes.
Well, and people aren't just paying for the food, it's the dishes and the silverware and the glassware. Like,
Exactly.
I mean,
And sometimes people don't know if they book a caterer if they get that. They assume, and sometimes, no, you don't get flatware. But flatware is the silverware. That's a fancy term, flatware. And then the china and the glassware. Like, people think that comes with it, but not always.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then, I mean, with that too, of your bar, is that included as well? Or is that separate? Do you want to do cash bar? Do you want to do hosted? So realistically, you're looking at probably starting for around $30 per person if you want a nice full meal.
And again, this is in Nebraska.
Correct.
Too.
Yeah. And lots of times people say, oh, we'll just do appetizers because that'll probably be cheaper. But a lot of time that ends up being more expensive too because it's the time and all the assembly and all of the...
It's more labor.
All the mini plates, all the platters, everything that goes into it. Yes. So there's a lot more that goes into it than people think.
Yeah.
Let's talk. So that is a good question. Like, I know I am such a fan of like, there's something special about a sit-down meal. You know, like it's the first and maybe the first and oftentimes one of the only times that like this couple will have so many people they love. I just think there's something so special about like sharing a meal together. But I know a lot of people are going more of like the appetizer reception route. So like what are you seeing and like how do you help couples navigate like which route they want to go?
Well, and really people are straying away from those traditions. It's maybe they don't want to do a fancy dinner, but their parents are like, we are dead set on this. Like, we want this traditional meal. So people are doing like a more formal dinner for their close family and friends and then doing an after party with hors d'oeuvres with everyone. Or they're incorporating a few more fun stations into their meal rather than just a traditional, here's your steak, here's your chicken, and here's your mashed potatoes. So, and that's fun too for the guest experience because then you get to see more live action things or different items that incorporate well with like some kind of tradition that they did as a couple or some special place that they met together. So
Oh, I love that you say that too. And still keeping to the hors d'oeuvres versus dinner too. Sometimes when you do hors d'oeuvres, I would say the most successful ones are almost doing a waterfall effect with food delivery too, because if you put it all out and it's all gone, it's all gone.
And people are not happy.
They're not happy. And so when it's kind of nice to do the waterfall effect, being like, hey, let's start with this. And when that's gone, here's another, like, in a way, entertainment. Here comes more food, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, ooh, what's up next, right? So hors d'oeuvres can be such a conversation, being like, oh, did you go to that corner?
Yeah.
That's where the cheese balls are.
Yeah.
You know, but it is a good way to interact with your guests. But again, I highly always recommend too, in general, hors d'oeuvres are a great way to kick off a wedding.
Yeah.
You know, because when there's no food, especially after that ceremony, they are watching the watch, like, when are we going to be fed?
Yep.
Because people get hangry.
Yeah. And when your timeline's not on track and you're behind 15 minutes, then they're really watching that clock of like, okay, they said it's supposed to start at this time. Where are we at? What's
And the
going
energy
on?
dies.
It does.
Yeah, because then they get crabby. It's like, it was so up. So that's where just having that little hors d'oeuvre, doesn't have to be crazy, goes a long way to make them stay comfortable until the first plate is served. But that's where a lot of couples, you know, in the Midwest like to bar hop or go to a bar, and when it's like, well, you gotta stay on time for a reason. And if you want to do that, like hopping around, then you better do hors d'oeuvres, right? Because, you know, once the alcohol happens, then they all forget everything. But when you were saying traditions, how does, when they present you traditions, or maybe like a mood board if they're going for a certain theme, do you love that? Like, how do you take that on?
Yeah, we do, because I mean, food is so personal and special to every person. And so like, we really push on getting to know our couples of like, where did you guys meet? Where do you like to go out to eat? What do you do on the side? Because those things, as soon as you learn more about your couples, like, you're going to learn bits and pieces that you can work into their day. And that's really what makes the day special for them. Their guests may not know that, but it really does like add the icing on the cake for them. So I would say just like, give us all the information, and then we can maybe play with a color from what you're looking for in our presentation, or we can bring in a different style of food, or just anything to kind of do a fun late night snack that really, like, we had a couple who met in Chicago, so we did a late dog Chicago dog station.
I was just gonna say,
and just do something fun that like really pertains to them and is important to them.
Like you said, they don't want to just do meat and potatoes, right? Have personality with your food, or put your personality into the food too, right? I think I've heard like macaroni and cheese bars, and of course everybody loves a late night pizza, but even just your favorite meal as a couple, like, have that kind of be your foundation of creating what you're going to serve your guests, right? Because it's your day.
And if some people do like a get to know us card of all these things, and those little tidbits are in that card, then great, we can incorporate it into that. And they're like, oh, well, they did this. That's so sweet. It was incorporated into their day. So.
You shared that on your little Q&A for us that you support like local as well for your food, to bring that into your catering experiences. How do you go about that, especially with the different seasons here in Nebraska?
That can be challenging. There are a few things that it's very much season appropriate, but our chef loves to work with different places of growing different herbs in these local shops, or getting local beef, or even like
in Omaha.
Even like local alcohol. We work with different local alcohol distributors of, they brew everything here, so let's incorporate that into our package, because a lot of your guests, maybe not all of your guests are from the area, but a lot of your guests want those local craft beers or something that they're very familiar with, and they can be special to them.
That just shows that everybody can like bring something different to the palate, right?
Yeah.
It's a blank canvas. What do you want to do? Because we all got connections.
Yeah.
You can see what we can do. Yeah, sometimes we say no, but we try not to.
Yeah.
You know, but that's why you work with other great wedding professionals to make something happen,
Exactly.
or businesses too.
Yeah, and you talk about saying no. Of a lot of people think, okay, well, I have to accommodate every single person on my guest list, which can be challenging these days. But we really push of like, let's do a meal that's special to you, and then we will accommodate all those different dietary restrictions as they come. So like we always do like a final 6-week-ish call, and then a final 2-week meeting. And that 2-week meeting is like, give me all of your RSVPs with all of those dietary restrictions, and we will do something special for them so that they are able to get a full meal too. And you're not worried about like, Grandma Susie is a vegetarian, what is she gonna do? Like, she's gonna freak out that day. It's like, we'll do something special for them so that they feel accommodated too, and then that way you can really stick to what you want, and you're not having to look at everyone.
That does make them feel so special. Like, that's why even like a place card is so important. You know, like you said, like Aunt Nancy or whatever, if she needs a whatever and the place card says it, like, I always felt like it was such an orchestra when the food came out. Like, I think it's a beautiful thing. Like when the food comes out. And so if it can just be this chill, like, the server, you know, they know just exactly who gets what. They scoped it out before. The servers know, okay, this is where this person, like, it is.
We did our research.
Makes everything so
and
much
we're
easier.
prepared.
Not a big deal.
So I love, you said 2 great things with your answer to that, or pointers. That's why RSVPs are really good to get back at the 1 month mark.
Yes.
Yep, exactly.
Not 2 week, because then you have your 1 month deadline that says on your invite. So then you have 2 weeks to pick up the phone. And I'm serious. I'm going to look at it. You pick up the phone and text, and you're like, hey, cousin Bob, are you coming? And is Auntie Janet coming?
Yep.
Because you want to give that final count at the 2 weeks, and you pass it off.
And that's just not for caterers too. That's all professionals.
Yes.
Because everyone needs those details. So your planner can do your seating chart, or you can get all your signage printed. You can get the full timeline put together so that they know exactly how the day is going to run. Because if you have 100 people that you don't know if they're going to show up or not, that makes a big difference.
That's why it's so different from, again, the brides that got married in the 70s and the 80s, because it was just a free-for-all.
Yep.
I got the local VFW, and I think 400 people are coming.
Yeah.
It's not that way anymore, you know, and food is more expensive too.
Yeah.
So that 1 month mark is so nice, because then you know exactly who's coming, and you can get those special requests in.
For sure.
Yeah. Go for it.
I was just going to say, we hear that a lot of, my parents had 700 people at their wedding, and they're wondering why we don't want that. And it's like, that was a whole different world.
It's a whole new world.
Weddings are completely different.
Yeah.
And it's not the same experience anymore. People are...
There's almost open house feel back then, I felt like, especially in the Midwest.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And people are more like leaning towards smaller, intimate, non-traditionals. We don't have the same garter toss and all these traditions that they used to have years and years ago.
Or livelihood with wedding professionals, like their businesses being more strategic and more in, what's the word, intentional, right? That's the purpose of what they do for a living.
Yeah.
And before it was kind of like, sure, I'll help with the flowers, and I'll make the meatballs.
Yeah, no, that's true.
There's not that anymore.
Now we'll make the meatballs and you stick to your lane.
Yes, exactly.
So when I was on the venue side of things, it was my catering sales title always felt so odd to me, because yes, I sold food, but like that was just part of it, because it was part of like how everything comes together. But tell me if you feel the same way I do, but I always felt like the photographer and videographer should be fed like similar, on the same rhythm as the wedding party. Yeah. Because they need to capture stuff in time with them, you know?
And I would say, and also just to feed them.
Yes. Feeding, keep your vendors happy, number one, absolutely. But also, like, those aren't the ones you want to have fed last, right? Because you want them to be able, you don't want them taking a bite when they're like doing the...
And your DJ or band as well, whoever's running your audio, because those people are trying to keep everyone else on track.
Yes.
And if they're sitting in that back eating and we're like, okay, let's get on with toast, then it just throws everything off, and it just makes it an awkward silence throughout the event too. So getting those people right off the bat, get them fed, make sure you're providing meals for them because they're working hard and just as much of a big part of your day as anyone else.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. I have a funny story to share. Okay, so when I was catering sales manager, we had this event. It was a quinceanera, and they wanted this fajita station, and in the system, just like, I was going too fast, and I did like that one drop down below it in the system, and it was like a stir fry station. So come the day of, our chef had prepared this stir fry station, because that's what I checked on the little, and so he had the stir fry station all prepared, and then the room was decorated all like, colorful, like ready for a quinceanera, a fajita party. So I had to tuck my toes in, like go to my chef, which is never fun, be like, okay, so I screwed up.
And that's okay.
Of course we made it work. There's just a little interesting
extra vibe
zing to the chicken, but we made it work. We made it work. Everything always works out. But like, oh my gosh, that was so funny.
Okay, so I'm sure you get this question quite a bit, is can your servers and bartenders dress more for the theme of the wedding? Like question. Pink ties or bow ties? Do you get that a lot?
I wouldn't say a lot, but we do get it once in a while. We did one in Okoboji a couple weeks ago, and they had like an Egyptian theme. Ooh. And so we were in, I was not part of it, but the rest of the crew was in this like full head to toe Egyptian attire, and they went all out.
Oh, cool.
And I would say like when those cases come up, we always say like schedule it accordingly, so we get the people that are like all for it and are gonna really dive into it and make it like very special, rather than the people that are like, oh, what am I wearing right now?
What did you make for food for that one?
It was traditional food. It wasn't anything crazy, but it was at Arnold's Park in Okoboji, and so they did like a lot of carnival food and things like that. So it was an interesting theme with the rest of it, but they had different events, and so it was fun to see.
So is it still common for the head table to get a special meal versus all its guests, or do you feel that's kind of been a fad that kind of disappeared?
I would say it's probably disappeared so much.
I'm glad it is.
Yeah, once in a while we'll have like plated salads if the rest of them are a buffet salad or things like that. But basically it's most of the time the same.
Because I think they but then it's a way to, help with cost.
Yep.
Right? They want the filet mignon, but they want to pay their guests with chicken.
Yep.
I get it. We can make, those dreams happen.
Yeah.
But it's nice to serve everybody the same thing or the options. Mm-hmm. What is your recommendation that your team prefers when it comes to like the place card? Like who gets what, who gets this, or do you prefer to do one, like service, right?
I mean, I would say it's really up to, I usually leave it up to the couples of what they want. I would just say make sure it is clear for staff to be able to see. And you need to think about that. A lot of times it's going to be dark in the room.
Yes.
So it might be you don't want to make it something big and flashy, which is fine. It doesn't need to be, but it needs to be able to be seen quickly so that as servers are going, they can see it immediately and they're not hunting for that name card, trying to find the little tiny dot in the corner or the little tiny letter picture, whatever it may be, so that it really speeds up service and it doesn't slow down the rest of your event.
Okay, now I love where we're going, because speed of service is huge, right? Because again, brides and grooms, engaged wedding couples think it's gonna go fast, right? And it should go fast if you hire a great team. But if you have 1, 2, 3 different options for dinner, that takes longer, because they have to, in the kitchen, they have to be like, oh, I need more chicken. Oh, it's time for steak. What's coming in next, right? And that can slower it down, because you get to a table and you're like, I got 4 chicken, 3 steak, and 1 vegetarian. And you only have 3 vegetarians for the entire event, but they have to stop the line to get that vegetarian going.
Exactly.
So the importance of only having 1 selection goes a lot faster than 3 options, wouldn't you say?
And even if it doesn't have to be a single selection, it can be a combination plated meal. So maybe you have beef and chicken, or beef and a fish, whatever it may be, but you have to think about, okay, what's more important to me? Maybe adding the extra $3 per person, or is it going to be adding an extra 20 minutes for all of these specific, especially if you have one that has 30 dietary restrictions, like those are going to really slow down service. So if we can get those out one after another, then you're going to have a much better overall guest experience.
And what's so good when you have a planner or RSVPs again, you can actually go down to the table where everybody is with those special needs.
Yes.
It helps the kitchen and the serving crew so much better to be more effective.
And we actually require ahead of time that you give us a seating chart that has name, how many people at this table have this option, how many people have this option, and here's John has beef. Here's Sarah, she has chicken. And then that way we know exactly when we're going out, okay, it should be beef, chicken, fish, beef. And it's just straight out the line as servers walk out.
That.
So having all of that ahead of time is super important for your
And that
team.
goes again back to the RSVP card.
Yep.
So actually on all our sites, when you do an RSVP, it says Auntie Janet, then it's like beef, chicken, dietary request, dietary restriction. So I know that Auntie Janet has chicken, because if you just put chicken and beef and you say 2 people are coming, who's having what?
Exactly.
And then that 2-week window that you're needing to get the deadline, you're having to actually call everybody to find out who's having what.
Or that night they'd say, I don't remember what I picked that day, or
Yep.
I want this now instead. And it's like, we planned for this and this. Like, we can't just switch it on a whim. We're not, we don't have a kitchen live on site, especially for offsite catering. So like, we need to know those exact numbers ahead of time so that we can be prepared and make it a smooth service.
Yeah, and of course, if you're being more proactive on those RSVPs, you're making your life easier too,
Yes.
before passing the torch to you.
Absolutely.
Are you seeing some like wine pours during dinner service or champagne pours during?
Those are my favorite.
Yes,
I know,
we
mine
are.
too. Yeah. Okay. Good.
I would say people are more straying away from the champagne, just because champagne, you either love it or you hate it.
Yeah.
But I would say wine is definitely a bigger thing now, of maybe even closing down the bar during dinner time and
Yep.
just doing table wine service during that time,
Yep.
or preset table wine, either's fine.
Yep.
Just to kind of make it a more intimate time. People are really focused on the interactions they're having, the meal they're having, and they're not off hanging out at the bar during dinner.
Yep.
I love it. It makes it more of an experience too, and it keeps
agree.
your guests in their chairs.
Yes.
Too, with a wine pour.
It's just such a nice touch.
It is.
I always like it.
I know, and like salad, that's later. That's when you do maybe the white wine pour, and then before dinner you come out with red,
Yeah.
right? And it's like you're making this experience, and it is a big experience, and it's a big part of your budget.
And usually it's not that much different to do a wine pour versus having an open bar anyway, because you already are going to have the staff, you're already going to have the alcohol. You're going to have a little bit more just because it's a little extra work, but it's not going to be a major difference.
But wine pours truly help the bar. Like, don't have the bar
Yes.
stars go to the bar. You want them seated because you just paid this money for this amazing meal.
Yeah.
For one, you took time to pick out this meal, and then there's going to be speeches, and then the dessert, and all those things. It's like, keep your butts in the chair.
Yeah. Yeah.
Totally.
Right? And the wine pour just helps them. We got you. We need
Yeah.
you just to be cozy
Yeah.
right here, right?
Just enjoy. Yeah.
One thing we haven't really touched on yet that you mentioned was dessert, and that is really changing from tradition, I would say. We're not seeing cakes. Yes, you have cakes once in a while, but we're seeing a lot of interactive live action desserts or mini desserts where you have a whole different array that you can grab from, or even like a plated dessert that's not your traditional cake. So just something fun that you can incorporate. Also, again, like your traditions, what's important to you, and then just give a good variety of options for people so that they don't have to just have one option.
Right. Yeah, I think definitely the cake display is back in full action. That's part of the decor, but I definitely see the variety of a different dessert.
Yeah.
For sure. Just to break it up and again show more personality.
Yeah,
You know.
absolutely.
I agree.
And it's often like you can really reach a variety of dietary restrictions even within your mini desserts. You can get a few gluten-free, you can get a few vegan in there, and so that you can really touch everyone and they can feel special about, they can have dessert too.
Yeah, and there's always the icing on the cupcake, right?
Yeah.
Having good dessert on a wedding day.
Absolutely.
For sure. Well, it's been so awesome sitting down with you, Karmin.
Yeah.
This has just been very educational, and I just gets my juices fired up because it's a big thing. Food is
Yeah.
a big part of the wedding day, and everybody's happy to eat on a wedding day
Exactly.
and toasting on a wedding day. So thank you for sitting with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been fun.
Cool. Well, thank you everybody for tuning into Wedding Day Podcast. We'll see you next time. See you. Bye.